Woo, woo, what's going on out there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. You see I got the Rebel swag on. I got the 2 years ago swag from The Force Awakens. And at long last, this is my spoiler-filled review for The Last Jedi, Episode 8, Star Wars. So, I'll just say this up front. I don't know how long this is going to take. I just know I have so much processing, so many notes, so many different things I want to try to break down with you guys. Even though on Sunday, around 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be going with a slew of other YouTubers, bloggers, and going in great detail about this movie, The Last Jedi. And be quite honest with you, coming out of my Monday press screening that I saw it, and to today, which is Wednesday, recording this, I've had some time to really reflect. Listening to other reviewers is one thing, but really just taking time to reflect. And one thing I'll say out of this movie, before I even go into spoilers, just know, if you don't want to be spoiled, go and see the movie. The movie is worth seeing, definitely. As a Star Wars fan, as an entertainment fan, as all the movies I've seen this year, this is a movie you definitely got to go see for yourself. Now to the nitty-gritty. Why did I keep so many secrets for my non-spoiler review for The Last Jedi? Because honestly, truthfully, some of the things I'm about to talk about, I've never even seen in a Star Wars movie. I'm going to start off with the highlights, then I'm going to talk about the things and the questions that, for me, were very big negatives and nitpicks at the same exact time. But it's really from a mind perspective, what my expectations were of this film. So, highlight, to start off with, the battle scenes. The very opening with Poe Dameron in his X-Wing and like with BB-8 in the backfold, and they just soaring into like a battle destroyer. And I was just like, you know, it wasn't just the fact of like how amazing the visual effects were and the scope of it, but it was the feeling and the impression of war. You know what I'm trying to say? A character, Rose, that you find out later on that works with Finn, her sister was in one of these actual battle destroyers that would have these bombs that were going to be dropped onto this destroyer. And because of Poe Dameron's misguided understanding of what it takes to really win, which is preservation of life, all these different people were just dying. Like, it was just like death after death after death. And one of the things I love about this movie is the impression of war. You really feel it. One of the things they got really right with Rogue One was that feeling of loss and sacrifice and the impression of what war does to a person. And it's like Poe Dameron, from the very opening of this, it was just like he just went guns blazing straight ahead into perilous danger. He made it, but at what cost? And it's especially to Rose's sister in the very beginning. But just the amount of sacrifices in this film makes you feel this impression of war. And I'm going through a lot of different notes, so just bear with me. The scene when the ship that Kylo Ren is in, when Kylo Ren goes and he's like, I need to go and take care of this. Now, what they did perfectly in this movie was allowed Adam Driver to act. Like, the man, first off, he can act. He can act, period. But it was like in The Force Awakens, you saw semblances of it. You saw moments of it. But it was like towards the final act when he was kind of like fighting Rey. It just kind of like went more into like this action feel good. Like, okay, she's better than him. I don't know why, but he lost. He got scarred. He got hurt. What is he going to do coming out of this? This is where you start to see the real weight in the meat of not just his character, but Adam Driver as an actor coming out. Like when Snoke like legit kind of pulled him over to the side and it's like, you're nothing, you're this, you're that. And he's like, take that ridiculous helmet off. And he takes his helmet, legit, slams it into an elevator multiple times. And people were like, it was weird because the impression the last time was like, the mask is what made him so much tortured or fearful. But it was like in that one moment, that eradicated those feelings I had in The Force Awakens of like, okay, when he has the mask, he's scary. No. You see the confliction oozing out of him. In that, just that one scene alone, I thought that was perfect setup for him. But when he was in the wing and he was sitting there, like, he got like right on to where his mom was. He could feel his mom. It was both interaction. And then all of a sudden, like, he held back. And like, I was like, yo, because I thought, and when I looked at the trailer, I was like, he's definitely going to hold back. But I didn't know if he would. But then it didn't matter. Because she still got shot. The whole bridge got knocked out. Now, this is where it's going to get crazy, right? Okay, so hold on. Brace yourself for this craziness. After that happened, Leia goes out. Like, she gets sucked down into the vacuum, and I was like, oh my, and this is the first act. I was like, this is the best first act. Because what they did, they made me feel like this feeling of impression that anything and everything can happen in war, and that's what this movie is stapled on. This is what this movie is going to be grounded to. And like when she got vacuumed out, I was like, oh my God. You know, that's what I felt like. I was like, you bring her out here, you showed that, okay, Poe Dameron's getting set up into this kind of leader role, and then you kill Princess Leia. I was like, what? And then this is what they do, right? They take that situation, and all of a sudden, you zoom in on her, and all of a sudden, she pulls her hand out like this, and she starts to guide herself into the ship? What? What? What was that? Like, what was, like... Okay, this is the thing, right? Okay, so this goes into one of my, not nitpicks, but it's like a question. At what point and what understanding did you get any kind of surrounding understanding of her working into the Force? Yes, Kylo Ren has definitely been trained. But one of the things she wanted was for, you know, Kylo Ren or Ben to be trained by Luke. So it's like it implies that he trained her too? Like, there's no understanding or wrapping my head around at what point did she, as cool as it was, as amazing as it was, there was nothing to lead me to believe that, nor no post scene or anything. So I was just like, yes, this is very great fan service. This is amazing. But how? And in what way? And when have I ever seen a Jedi use that? The other part, right? Snoke. Now, the conversation that he had with Kylo Ren was harsh. But the conversation he had with Domhnall Gleeson's General Hux was hilarious, because Hux was like, well, I did this, and like, wait to bring him up on the comment. All of a sudden, you see like the head of Snoke to sit there, and like he's like calling him out on his stuff, and he's like, I'm sorry, sir. And like, this is where you see the raw power of Snoke, right? Like, the man threw his body up and down to the floor multiple times, and I was like, how powerful is this man that he's on the bridge? He's on a whole different area of the ship, and he's able to do that. Another thing that happened later on, like in the third act of the movie, when Rey, you know, is confronting Snoke, and he just brings her body over there like it wasn't nothing. Like it was nothing. And then he proceeds to torture her. Like, her body is like stretched out like this, and I was just like, yo, what is this guy? There was even a moment where he used Force Lightning against Kylo. Like, I was like, this is where I get into questions that bode nitpicks / negativity. If you will bring a character such as Snoke, that from all intents and purposes, okay, he's from a dark sector of the universe. I've heard enough of Emergency Awesome, read some things about that fact, but nothing in this movie gave me understanding of an origin of who Snoke was. I just saw his capacity for darkness. Now, to me, the best villains come with baggage, weight, and origin process. Like, who was the person that trained him? How did he come to know about the Skywalkers? Why does he have this vendetta against the Skywalkers? Why does he have this scar? None of that gets answered in this movie, because by the time that he gets tortured, you get the understanding that there's this connection that supposedly he made for Ren and Rey together. Like, for them to be connected to each other, so that out of sympathy, she would go with him to try to convert him back. Kind of like you think Return of the Jedi, or, you know, what he's done in the past with Luke and Darth Vader. But with this one, it was just like, okay, I have you now. But it's like, there's no context as to what she wants to do with her other than destroy her. Like, does he want to make her an apprentice? That is never actually expelled. And one of the things I also didn't bring up is that there was a shot, 2 different shots in a couple different trailers, where Kylo Ren's helmets, there's different helmets that showed up. Like, one that was gold, one that was a different color, one that was the same one. And he picked that up, put it back on. After he destroyed his helmet, he didn't put any more on at all in this movie. So I'm not sure when that got cut out. There was another shot where Rey was running with the lightsaber in the darkness. That was not in the movie as well. But that's just a small nitpick. But the whole point was, at that point, then, right, Kylo Ren like basically Snoke puts her in front of him. It's like, okay, now you've proven yourself, kill her. And I was like, that logic doesn't make sense because it's evident that she has more power than him. Unless he, out of fear, was just like, okay, she has to die because she's too much light. But that totally, to me, disregards what Luke said. Luke said, you know, when she was having her vision, you know what I'm saying, of the darkness that's at the bottom, she wasn't afraid to go into it. She literally went and dove into it and just stayed there because in her head she was like, no matter what I have to do, even if I go straight darkness, I need to know who my parents were. Now, I'll get into the whole parents part in a second. And I know I'm going all over the place. I apologize. But this is a lot. This is a lot for me to actually really talk about. And I'm trying to get this out. So Snoke puts her in front of him. And freaking Kylo Ren, at the same time he has his lightsaber ready, or Luke's lightsaber ready, like he goes and moves the lightsaber right in connection where Snoke's sitting at. And I was just like, what's he about to do? And he turns the joint on and then moves it out. And all of a sudden you see Snoke go, I was like, what? And then it proceeded into this freaking dope lightsaber battle with Rey and Kylo Ren going up against like Snoke's minions, who I don't know who they are. One of the questions that I had from this movie was this flashback. When they talked about the flashback, even the one that Rey saw when Luke Skywalker had his hand on C-3PO, and then you look into the darkness, and then you see like all these Jedi scattered everywhere, was the Knights of Ren. The one thing they talked about in the last movie was the Knights of Ren. There is no implication, understanding, or bringing up of the Knights of Ren, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, the Knights of Ren, that would make sense. Moving forward, now that Snoke is gone, Kylo can bring the Knights of Ren together, and then they move forward into whatever plan he got. And I still don't know where they are. There was no implication. And that was something that was left out of the movie. And I was like, these are questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm asking legit, devoted questions because this is what you brought to me in one movie and then you didn't bring it up in this one. So anyway, they get done with the fight and it was dope, right? Then, and I said this to my good friend Lucas. Shout out to Lucas, Draw 4. I was like, at the moment, and I want to make sure I read it right because I said something specific. I said, the moment that I realized that when, you know, Kylo, after he killed this person, what Rey and him did changed the movie for me. Because in my head, I was like, okay, this is the point where it's not going to be enough for her. I literally wrote basically to him this. I said, to my personal opinion, I thought that what should have happened was made after Kylo killed him, that secretly Rey wanted answers from Snoke. And she would be mad at Kylo, and then you would start to see her exhibit these other powers. Because we've already seen her use powers of light. We've already seen she has so much anger and non-understanding of who she is. So I was like, this is where it's going to start like spewing out. And I was like, and then him telling her it's not worth it. I've been down this road. The powers of darkness start to come out of her at this point, and she almost kills him. And then basically what I put it was, and having him have to crawl back to his mother, to Luke, and basically presenting to them, like, what are we going to do now? Because she is more powerful and uncontrollable than I could have ever imagined. And then this is where Luke has to go into the self-sacrifice, and he makes Kylo understand why he banished himself, because Luke knew that he had the capacity of doing the same thing. Now, granted, I put this in my head in the middle of the movie, not before. Like, I was like, okay, if you're going to give me the dark side, if you're going to give me Empire Strikes Back connection, give me something and don't pull back. I felt like what they gave me was, okay, now that I've killed this man, that I've been devoting my whole entire time to this self-approval of him, like now, like, what are you going to do? I was in my head, I was like, okay, why not even plausibly listen to what she has to say and say that, like, I don't know. But what he said was, he's like, now you can join me, we can rule together. And I was like, to what end? Because now you're not any stronger than what you were before. You didn't learn anything. Like, it's evident he was stronger than you. So it's like, what does that mean? You have no teacher now. You have nothing moving forward. And so, like, for me, I was like, that didn't make sense to me because it defeated the whole point, you know? And then she was like, no, you can't do this. And then she pulled back, and then eventually it all regrouped back. So I thought that didn't make coherent sense to me. And I know I'm not reading a lot. I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm going to move forward. The other part of this that I didn't bring up was these. I wrote down a couple questions that I made before I got into the movie theater. Like, I got into the movie theater, I wrote these questions down. I was like, if any of these questions get answered, I would be a happy man. And it's 5 different questions. The first question was, who is Rey's parents? Second question was, will Kylo go to the light? Will he go to the light side? Third question was, will Kylo kill his mom? Or he stay to the dark side? Are Kylo and Rey related? Fourth question. And then the fifth question was, will Finn and Rey continue a relationship? Now, I'm going to go down and tell you that as far as the parents part, and I got to go back to my notes for that. I saw one clue that led me to believe that they were related or brother and sister. And that was only the charm bracelet that Luke went and specifically found in the Millennium Falcon. And I don't know where that charm bracelet came from. Like, I was like, did Lando leave that there? Like, did Obi-Wan leave that there? Like, where did that come from? And then it got brought up later when Kylo saw, like, the hologram of Luke disappearing, which I'll bring that up later. Bring that up in a second. And, like, he brought it up, and he was like, I was like, is this their connection? Are they brother and sister? Like, I legit feel that that's what it has to be, because at the very end of the movie, everything that Snoke said might have been a lie, because Snoke said that I connected you guys together. Now, at the point that Snoke is already dead, and she's looking down, he's looking up, and seeing her going away, they're still connected. And the only two people that I've seen something like that happen were the twins, which were, of course, Luke and Leia. Especially Empire Strikes Back. That was the first time you really got to see their real connection together. That's when you got to see they both had exhibited powers. So it was like, I was like, is that possibly that they're siblings? I don't know. That didn't get addressed. One thing that Kylo did say, which I thought was it was either one, it was a cop-out or it was a truth. Lucas says it's a truth and a cop-out. In the sense that he basically said, Kylo said to her, like, I know you want to know who your parents are, but you know the truth. The truth is that they're scavengers, that they're nobodies. You know what I'm saying? And there's truth to that. Han Solo is a scavenger. Princess Leia, before people knew who she was a nobody. Eventually, they came to be in the legends of who they are. Which I'll get into the Luke part of that in a little bit. And so that question didn't get answered. Will Kylo go to the light? I don't know, because he didn't. Like, it was like the moment that, you know, you think that he would and she would go dark. I was like, that would have been way more, you know, but it didn't happen. So it was like, I don't know. I don't know where he's at with this. Will Kylo kill his mom? He didn't, but she got killed, I thought, and then she did. So it was like a renege. So I put like an X on that. And then I said, are Kylo and Rey related? And I was like, I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, the fifth one, this is where I start to have my biggest problem with the negatives in this film. And then I'm going to talk about nothing but stuff that I can gush about, like the Yoda and the Luke Skywalker. And I will say that Mark Hamill, he acts his butt off. This is the best I've ever seen him as Luke Skywalker. Ever. Like, the stuff that he goes through and the feeling and the weight of the world, of the universes, or whatever you feel on him, it is evident. And every scene Mark Hamill's in, from the moment, you know what I'm saying, when Rey meets up with him, he just sits there, throws the lightsaber over, to the moment he goes and just goes and fish and acts like revolting and self-wallowing. And then at the same time takes moments back to look and observe her, see what she's capable of, wanting to teach her from the sideline, watching her use the staff and then go and start using the lightsaber, and then all of a sudden he moves to her and tells her, like, what do you feel? I'm going to show you you know, what it means to be light and dark. And it's like, you find out that he's just war-torn. The reality is that he's been studying these books so long that he's like, I need justification to why I'm here. And that's what makes that Yoda moment so great, but I'll talk about that in a second. The problem that I have with this movie, and I knew it from the first trailer, and I knew it from the way that they positioned John Boyega and Daisy Ridley from the promotions, that they were going to try to pair off Finn and this new character. I didn't know what the new character was. I knew she was Rose. Girl looked cute. Rose is actually a really fun character. I actually really liked her character. I didn't have as much of a problem as everybody else said they did as far as their adventure. Benicio del Toro, I feel like he's going to be connected to Lando Calrissian. I feel like personally when they were talking about the ship that was taken, that they ended up taking and leaving off of, that the person that they helped out with the rebels, but yet they helped out with the Imperials, I think that was Lando Calrissian's ship. And that'll lead into who Finn's parents are. I think that that was the whole point of that entire thing. And Benicio del Toro's connection to Finn. I don't think that they just left somebody like Benicio del Toro out there for no good reason. I feel like it's going to be a direct connection to, you know what I'm saying, Billy D. Williams himself. So that's fine. I didn't have a problem with that. The problem that I did have is that, you know, Rose was not necessarily a needed character. This is something that Finn could have done all on his own. First off. And then the second thing was, it was like, and I don't know how to, a good way of saying this. In The Force Awakens, they did a great job of showing a character as, you know, independent and devoted and focused as Rey is. And yet, she being complimented by this one character, we have no idea how he's alive, why he's there, why when Kylo Ren looked at him, that he saw that there was something different about him within the Force or within his ideals. That was like, it was perfect because by the end of it, he is the person with the lightsaber trying to defend the person of light that needs to protect everybody. And then she comes to her own because of her need to protect him. And like, she ships him off. And it's like, they met each other twice in this movie. Maybe once, actually. Towards the very end, they hug and they embrace. But that's really it. And I feel like they wanted to not have Finn be so connected to Rey. Now, that could be because they want to imply the possibility that Kylo Ren and Rey may be being together and that they're not brother and sister. But what I feel like, and I don't want necessarily a love triangle, but this to me didn't make sense for the merits of this movie. The whole reason why Finn is doing everything that he was initially doing was for Rey. It wasn't anything, like even like him trying to leave, like I don't know, I think that he was initially going to go and try to find the plans and stuff like that without Rose by himself. Then she ended up tasing him, then ended up helping him, which was fine and all that. But I feel like they deliberately are trying to keep John Boyega's Finn and Rey disconnected from any kind of relational anything. Like it was like any kind of setup that you left for their relationship or the confounds of an organic and a great chemistry-driven relationship, regardless if anything happens with it or not, like allow it to go. And it's like, that's one of the things I actually have a problem with sometimes in Hollywood and TV shows, that this unallowance of interracial relationships. And I'm not saying that that is the merits of what's going to happen. It could be that this is just a, you know, a misguided step and like something's going to happen to Rose. But I feel like they're just going to keep Rose connected to Finn so that Finn is not with Rey. And to me, that, I don't like that. I really don't. I feel like one of the strongest things I loved about The Force Awakens was the devotion that they had to each other. And I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. It was like, even when Finn saw her and hugged her, like I was like looking for this bro to be like, where have you been? I can't believe you're alive. What happened? What's going on with you? I can feel something's wrong with you. And she's looking like, how are you walking? The last time I saw you, your back was jacked up. They didn't even imply anything about what happened to his back at all. They didn't show a scar or anything. So I don't even know, you know, they didn't show that. You know what I'm saying? It was like, to me, because of that, it's not so much the mission that they put Finn on or where his character's going. It's the fact that they removed like his rib. They removed like a big part of how connected he is to the main character. And that to me, because it was like in The Force Awakens, for all intents and purposes, I thought that Finn was the main character. Then when he wasn't, it was that perfect trade-off. But I was like, they're going to do this together. And Poe's going to be involved. You know, Maz Kanata's going to be involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got all these different future things set perfectly. And it was just like, they moved him off. They just kicked him to the curb as far as his connection to the main character. Or even any acknowledgement of it. Like, he could have easily told Rose, like, look, Rose, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I just know I need to defend Rey. I know I need to do this because I need to get back to Rey. That was never in dialogue. So it was like, by the time Rose kissed him, I was just like, what? You know, it wasn't like I wanted Rose to die, but I was like, this is not the end game that I foresaw. Maybe that's on me. Maybe I read it completely wrong. But when I watched this movie, I saw sparks, and it was just like, I mean, anyway. So I'm gonna stay off of that. But that was one thing that was a really big gripe for me, because John Boyega is such a great actor. Dave's really such a great actor. They have such great chemistry, and it's like to not service that. And you got all these great things that are happening around them. Kylo Ren, confliction with her heart. Like when Kylo Ren has his shirt off and she's like, can you please put a shirt on? And like she's like molting, crying and upset and in anger. Like that is the moment where you allow somebody on the outside to connect and converge with her. And it's like, I don't know, this was unsatisfying from their connection as characters that I think that they should have definitely explored. So all these things on this list is 2 X's and a whole bunch of questions. But let's continue on to that one epic moment. When Luke decided, like, look, I need to burn this joint down. I'm not going to follow Rey out, you know what I'm saying? And, like, he tries to do it and he couldn't. And then all of a sudden, Yoda appears. Freaking Frank Oz Yoda appears, and I was like, this is the thing that what they did was so great. They freaking allowed it to be a puppet. It looked like a puppet that had like a hue around it. So it wasn't a CG Yoda, it was a puppet Yoda, and I was like, yes. And so when like he ended up interacting with Luke and basically like, look, Luke, it's not just about how your people succeeds, it's about their failure that brings them to who they're gonna be. And this is where it goes crazy for me, because towards the back half, right, and I didn't have a problem with this, I just couldn't believe it when, you know, Finn was about to self-sacrifice himself. I was sitting there thinking he was gonna say, last thing he was gonna say is I love you, Rey, or goodbye, Rey, or whatever. He didn't say anything. He was just like, I'm about to kill myself and stop this, you know. Anyway, you know, Rose stopped that, and so then the thing, it already pushed into the ship, and so now their base is compromised, and all of a sudden you hear walking. I was like, Luke is not gonna come up. This man's beard is trimmed. He is ready. He has his lightsaber. He goes out there. Kylo was like, fire everything on this man, and I was like, what is this about to be a Dragon Ball Z moment? Like, I legit, that's how I felt. Like, I legit felt that way, because the thing about that scene is when he was walking out and he was walking into the silhouette of this barrier that they had just exploded out. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And then when they fired down and like he walked away like come on nothing. This is like Vegeta walking away from like a firefly or whatever. And like Kylo was like, okay, we about to settle this. I was like, first off, if he's able to take that much, why would you not continue to fire? You know, but either way, it was a dope fight between him and Kylo Ren. It was really dope. Matter of fact, both of the lightsaber fights were really well choreographed, really well filmed. And to be quite honest with you, the CGI for this movie is amazing. As much as the location from the island to the salt planet to, you know, some of the stuff that was the Finn planet, I can say that was really heavy CG, not on the practical side. But this movie was a practical masterpiece. That's why I keep saying that the more I think about it and process it, the more I appreciate everything I got. Even though some of the questions I had and some of the things that don't make sense didn't make sense. Even when, you know, that fight was over with, right? And I was like, okay, where is this gonna go, you know? And then all of a sudden, like, Kylo puts his saber through him, and, like, nothing happened. I was like, because he said, you know, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could ever imagine. And I was like, okay. And so, like, he did that, and then you find out that Luke is still on the island. Like, that's power, bro. Like, him and Leia, them jokers are old freaking P. Anyway, at the same time, I felt like, oh, daggone, I didn't get the fight that I wanted. I didn't get the fight that I wanted. But, because the weird thing that happened after that, the man disappears. Like, he poofs into nothing. I was like, what the heck? What does this mean? That's why I'm saying that Snoke is gone. Rey is the only Jedi now based on what Luke said. Or you could say he's the only one and there's no more. So there's no darkness. It's just confliction and in between. And I'm like, there's no Knights of Ren. There's no proposition of where things are going. And I'm like, what happens next? And that was part of the thing at the end. I was like, okay, at least give me this. Like when Kylo had the little, you know, the charm, I was like, at least Leia, look at her a certain kind of way so you can acknowledge to me, like, who this woman is. The other thing is Lori Dench. Oh, man, her character had one of the OGest moments. I forget what her purple hair tail said before she sacrificed herself. But I knew, I was like, she's lining this thing up. I was like, is she about to go into hyperspace? Like, how does this, what is going to happen? And when she went into hyperspace, and you see, like, the silhouette of it, and, like, the ship is just obliterated, I was like, that is what Star Wars is all about. That is what something they could have never done back in the day to that kind of level. Like, I was like, Rian, you are the freaking man. Because, like, she went out like a G. At first, like, I think that they underutilized her. Only reason why I say that is because imagine if you got like a small flashback of her, you know, in her element, connection with Princess Leia, you know, what their plans were, what they did before. Could she be Rey's mom? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know anything about her. And I didn't read the book. So it's like, from a movie standpoint, I was like, who the heck is this chick? And then I found out, like, okay, I rallied behind this chick, kind of. But yeah, so so I went over Laura having, Princess Leia having force powers. I went over that epic moment with the ship. I went over the Lando ship situation. I went over the Knights of Ren situation. Well, I did write this. Is Rey connected more to the darkness as she blindly walks into the dark? Shows a connection with the hole in the ground. Rey looking for her parents in front, but not there any consequences from what she did. The reason why I brought that up is Luke said, look, you need to leave this alone. She went all the way down there. And it's like, when Luke went through his test and trial, he did succumb to what could happen, but she went to a place of darkness that nobody's ever been. And it was like, she went down there without any kind of fear, without any kind of concern, and honestly, out of blind luck, she made it out of there to me, unless she had to have been changed from the inside. Like, I feel like you can't go that close to darkness and not get dark. Like, how do you not get soot on you from, like, you're sitting there, she touched it. And you saw all these different moments of her lapsing back, and I thought that was and I was like, yo, that's dope. From a visual standpoint, it was amazing. But from a comprehension standpoint, when she's looking at both her parents and it formulates to be her, and she doesn't get the answer she wants, I was like, that is, to me, an instant temptation. That was why I was like, you know, by the time she gets to Snoke, the only reason why she really wants to get to Snoke is not for Ben. It's because she wants answers about her parents, you know? And I was like, why would she not be mad about that? Why would this darkness that she was just around not unfold around her? And I was like, what was the point of her embracing all this darkness? Like, what was the point of her going into darkness and nothing coming out of it? There has to be a consequence there. That's why I said it was a question, not necessarily a negative, but I was like, where is this going? It didn't go anywhere in this movie. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It doesn't give me any, it doesn't lead me to believe that it's going to go anywhere after the fact. Luke's death. Explanation based on usage. He regained connection to the Force, and then that's when he did the battle thing, which was amazing. But then he ended up, disappearing. I think I brought that up already. Kylo wasn't going to kill his mom. He kills Snoke, but then decides he's going to change Rey. Why? Instead of embracing, one way or another, like, he just stays stagnant. And that was one of the things I was like, it didn't make any sense. And I think I pretty much put everything else in there. I think I've said everything. What reason did Kylo not... What did Kylo have to not kill Hux? That's one thing I question. In the first one, like, every time that Hux and Kylo met, it was evident that Hux was trying to set Kylo up, and Kylo definitely didn't like this fool. And so it was even more so. I was like, okay, this is where Kylo's gonna be like, and then just kind of keeps his head like somewhere or whatever. And he just allows him to live. And I was like, first off, if you're trying to be like Darth Vader would never done that. He finds everybody expendable. So I was sitting there thinking Dominic Gleeson is gonna take an L, and he didn't. Like, he just let him live, and I was like, what? And then with Captain Phasma, a lot of people are gonna be pissed about this. I know John Campion was probably pissed about it. He'll probably talk about it in his spoiler review. When Captain Phasma and Kylo and then Finn fight, I was like, the fight is dope. I'm really enjoying it. But how is Finn so fit and not hurt from his accident? Like, how was he perfectly okay? Like, the accident that he had, like, I was like, he got cut with a lightsaber up the spine. How is he able to really fight? And so I was like, from that standpoint, I was like, okay, this is why this is going to be a really long, drawn-out fight. Not from, like, okay, he's at his best, she's at her best, and then he gets the upper hand some kind of way. Whatever. But I was like, okay, I'm fine with it. I just don't think they killed her, which is fine. But I was like, whatever. I felt like that was a wasted opportunity where instead of Dominic Gleeson's character still living, they could have brought Captain Phasma on the ship to stay and accompany Kylo Ren. That to me was what I thought, Phasma was going to go. But they didn't go down route. This is fine. Who is Poe Dameron and his connection to all of this? In other words, we know on the surface level what Poe Dameron's capable of, who he represents. But we don't know a hill of beans about him. We don't know a hill of beans about Poe Dameron. I collect Poe Dameron comics, and they're still facets of his personality and who he is, where he came from, is not addressed at all in either movie. And it's weird because it's evident that Leia is positioning him, to be in this leadership kind of role. She knows where he's supposed to go. And yet, we don't know anything about him. We don't learn anything about him. Like, it was just so weird. It was so weird. And then, so does episode 8 set up episode 9 well? A YouTuber by the name of Gabriel Bloom asked me this question, and I was like, I'm going to write this person's name down. And the answer is no and yes. Yes, in the sense that I'm going to go into episode 9 knowing absolutely nothing. And the only reason why I say that is because things and questions I have for episode 7, as I've already laid them out for you guys to hear what I'm saying, it is not, some of those things aren't addressed in this movie. And now I got more questions about where this thing is going, where these characters are going. It's very interesting development. This is going to be very exciting by the time we get to episode 9, but I would not want that undertaking that J.J. Abrams has got, because, this is what Rian Johnson was like. He was like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to blow it up. I'm just going to blow it up. That's what he did. He was like, I'm going to blow this up. This joint is mine. And so from that creative standpoint, I have to accredit the man, because he did not hold back in blowing all of our, thought processes, our thoughts of what was gonna be, what was. It didn't make sense. He took chances. He took so many different chances, so many different things that he did in this. I couldn't believe it. And I haven't talked about, like, you know, the Crystal Foxes. I haven't talked about the Maz Kanata. Maz Kanata, she was barely in this movie. They could have definitely did more with her character. The fact that they killed Snoke, he was a CGI masterpiece. The set design, the fights, they were all impeccably amazing. But the fact that he went and, like, vaporized Luke Skywalker, he freaking blew Leia out of a freaking ship and then had her just come back like this. And then all of a sudden, like, Kylo Ren and, you know, Rey are fighting together. Like stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to give credit where credit's due. The movie of itself, it merits epic proportions because he takes those chances. And that's why I say the movie is directed way better than The Force Awakens is. It's just, it shouldn't be conditioned that this is a direct sequel to Answers for The Force Awakens or Episode 9. Like, I don't know what they're going to do Episode 9. So, to answer Gabriel's question, like, yes and no. Was there anything else I left out? Man, I think that was it, man. I think that one of the most interesting moments for me was when Rey got the revelation of a little bit of Kylo Ren's backstory. The fact that Luke felt the darkness emanating out of Kylo Ren. He got scared. He pulled his lightsaber, but he didn't attack him with it. But Kylo saw him pull his lightsaber, and he got on the defensive. And that, to him, made him feel like, okay, he doesn't trust me. And it was like... It was like Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan all over again, essentially. Because I was like, yo, did did Luke was like, oh, no, this dude got to die. He's got to go. Because if that would have happened, if it was really like Luke was like, okay, nah, he's got to be taken out, then I would have felt so much more fear for Rey. Because while she was on the island, like, it could have been like, okay, he's setting her up for the okie doke. He's setting her up to get killed. He's putting temptation right in front of her to kill her, you know? And it was funny because when she caught wind of it and she, you know, she started to fight Luke Skywalker. And I was just like, oh, this girl's bold. And, like, you know, Mark Hamill gave her that business for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like, he's knocked on the ground and she's, like, hovering in front of him. I was like, what you about to do? You know, what you about to do? And so moments like that, emotional, raw moments like that, performance-driven moments was what makes this movie, to me, have the capacity of a 12 out of 10. Not just a 10 out of 10, a 12 out of 10. The acting, the story, the way that they take these chances. That's why I was like, this is and should be the greatest Star Wars movie. But it's like, some of those same exact chances and the questions, I feel like they're just not committed to. And specifically, like, relationship stuff between Finn and Rey, I can excuse that just because of, you know, everybody has their own written perspective on who should be with who, and we don't know where these characters are going. I'll defend that. I'll let that go. But when you're talking about dark to light, and if you're going to give me, like, okay, Rey's going to go down to the darkest darkness, and then come out with the person that is definitely way more powerful than we gave him credit for in Snoke, and then not allow her to want to need something from him, and then all of a sudden just want Ben to be okay. No, take that chance. Like, go for that joint. Like, you already got me. You in the first act blow Leia out of the air. Okay, dude. I was like, that is what I'm talking about. I didn't want that to happen. That would have messed me up. But would have been even more inspiring. Guess what? Now that she had died and came back with the midichlorians as light, as an illumination of light, to be able to be there for Rey and telling Rey, look, in spite of what you think, he didn't kill me. Ren didn't kill me. He still has hope. You need to hold on. You know, like, moment like that could have been, like, if you're going to commit to one thing, if you're going to do one thing, then commit to it. It was like, the only thing that I can definitely say they committed to was what Luke went through. They followed through with Luke from all the way through. And for the fact of him being disappeared, like, I was like, that's the biggest risk that people are going to be talking about for some years. But I respect that. You know what I'm saying? It's like the other characters, I felt like he should have implored way more. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it was like where it needed to be. I felt like it was positioned perfectly, but I feel like it was just held back just a little bit. And that little bit to me, honestly, this is real talk. I feel like by tomorrow, when I watch this movie, Thursday night, with my wife, 6 o'clock, I'm probably going to move this movie up to a 9.3 to a 9.5. Most likely it's going to be a 9.3 where I'm going to stay at. Because right now it's at an 8.7. That's where I left off. But the more I think about how amazing the movie is, how fun the movie is, and how many risks the movie takes, but then it still didn't give me answers to questions that it laid in front of me. Like, it didn't move with what the ball was. Yeah, that's all I can really say. And yeah, I feel so much better. I feel so much better. Like, I've been waiting on this information for so long. For so long, bro. So, yeah, I don't know how long I've been talking. But, yeah. The Last Jedi, it did this to me. And if it does this to me, I can only imagine what it's going to do for you. One of my close friends and YouTubers, Jarrell's Alexandria, he's been on a blackout since the teaser trailer. He hasn't seen any TV spots. He hasn't seen any of the 3 trailers. He's listened to some reviews. I've been telling him to leave those alone. But, like, this movie is going to wreck him. I told him, I was like, look, give yourself 2 days. Like, give yourself till Tuesday. Because he's seeing it on Sunday. I was like, give yourself till Tuesday till you watch this movie. Because you need to take time to really soak in the fact of what happened. Not just the questions. Because I think that I went in with all these questions, all these ideas, and all these different things. I was like, this is where we're going to go to next. Because the movie before it, like, this movie doesn't serve as a sequel. It serves as its own standalone. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, if I had never seen The Force Awakens, yes, I wouldn't get context of what's going on in this, or who these characters were, or what happened left off. But this movie is a very standalone-ish film. And that's why I think that it's gonna mess Jarrell up, and probably some of you guys. But hope you enjoyed my spoiler review. I gotta give credit where credit's due. The movie is masterful level material. Directed perfectly, acted perfectly. I did not like some of the questions that it left me with. I didn't like the fact that I have questions on top of questions that I had from before. I didn't like the fact that it didn't connect to The Force Awakens enough for me to, like, make sense of, like, where these characters are going to go. But I do enjoy that mystery behind it. I do enjoy the fact of the ride that it gave me. You know what I'm saying? Like, the moments that I thought I'm about to be wrecked, then it just like, huh! You know? And I think that sometimes I'm okay with being wrecked. And I know it sounds really weird, but I think that if the movie would have just committed to a certain couple things, it would have been like the best Star Wars movie for me forever. Right now, I'm going to rank this movie because I said I would. I think what I said to Lucas was Empire Strikes Back, number 1. Force Awakens, number 2. Last Jedi, number 3. A New Hope, number 4. Number 5, Rogue One. Number 6, Return of the Jedi. Number 7, Revenge of the Sith. Number 8, Episode 1. And then number 9 would be definitely Episode 2, The Clone Wars. Even though I did love the Sand People fight. Even though I love that Duel of Fates was introduced into that one. But I say la vie. But yeah, so hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Again, I'm probably going to change my ranking to this. Make sure you stay tuned because on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be going and doing a huge, and I mean huge, discussion on all these different things. And I'm going to bring a lot of the things that I brought into those questions from a lot of your favorite YouTubers and bloggers. And for anybody that's in like the California area, it should be like 2 o'clock. For anybody that's in like Tokyo, it should be like 7 a.m. So you'll get the time jumps or whatever. But yeah, I got nothing left. So now I'm ready for tomorrow. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Y'all have a blessing. Peace, guys.